unwavering conviction and extraordinary eloquence. Mr. George Galloway, a distinguished figure. A distinguished figure in British politics, George has devoted his career to championing the causes of justice and equality, both at home and abroad. From the bustling streets of Glasgow, where he began his political journey as a wee Wayne, now that's Scottish for youth, for the likes of you and me, to the corridors of power in Westminster, George has always stood out as a fearless advocate for the underrepresented and the overlooked. His passionate speeches and formidable debating skills have not only resonated within the walls of Parliament, but has echoed across the continents, inspiring those who seek to challenge the status quo. George's commitment to social justice is evident in his tireless campaign against war, his advocacy for the Palestinian cause, and his steadfast opposition to imperialism. He has never shied away from controversy or difficult conversations. Instead, he has employed them as platforms to foster dialogue and effect change. As we welcome him to speak today, let us prepare to be challenged and inspired by his insights and his indomitable spirit. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to the leader and founder of the Workers' Party, Mr. George Galloway.
Thank you very much, my dear brother Akunji, Your Excellency Peter Ford, former British Ambassador, councillors, the distinguished elders among us, brothers and sisters, comrades and friends. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. None of that you just watched would ever have been known except for the courage of this woman sitting next to me and sitting to be your member of Parliament. That's a very, very important fact. None of the corruption, none of the racism, none of the Zionism, none of the Islamophobia, none of the prejudice in this Labour Party, as it's called, would have been known other than by the courage of Halima. Nobody else in this election can claim anything like that record of service, that record of integrity. I see my daughter in the crowd, she'll remember this with horror. I'm going to tell you about the time that I was opposed by the revolutionary Communist Party in the election of 1992. They stood only one candidate in the whole of Britain against me. 2 years previously, I had been slaughtered on the front page of The Sun for appearing on the back of a truck with Sinead O'Connor, Jerry Adams, and Martin McGuinness. I'm proud of that now. Led to a lost weekend with Sinead O'Connor, but I'm not going to tell you about that. I was spread over the sun as the IRA MP. And the Revolutionary Communist Party opposed me. Why? Because I had failed to call for victory to the IRA. They didn't stand against 649 other MPs, virtually none of whom would have gone to Dublin in the first place and called for troops out. Anyway, they stood against me. They plastered my campaign headquarters with RCP stickers almost on a daily basis, and on one, thankfully not videoed occasion, when my daughter and I, and another member of the Scottish Parliament, Polly McNeill, were driving through the streets, stopped at a traffic light, and they came and put their stickers all over the windscreen, making it impossible to drive. I was much younger then, so I swung out of the car, and I didn't stop swinging until I'd scattered the so-called revolutionary, so-called Communist Party from my car. But here's the funniest bit about this story. That iteration of the RCP ended up in the House of Lords, literally, through the moral maze of BBC to the House of Lords itself, others to university chairs, some to leader columns in the Times, that revolutionary communist organ, to the London Times. None of them, not one single one of them, remained in the socialist movement, on the left, or any kind of revolution anywhere, not even in the House of Lords. What's my point here? That iteration of the so-called RCP were an intelligence operation. They were a psy-op. They were a secret state operation. Because even in 1992, such people regarded me as being something of a threat to their comfortable order. Now I have no idea who this new iteration of the RCP is. But I know one thing, that they and the other independents, if they are not state assets, they might as well be. They might as well take the money, because their role is exactly the same, to try to stop the election of an outstanding champion of the people here in Europe, and to allow back into Parliament a Labour MP in an area that has been betrayed by one Labour MP after another for decade after decade in this part of town. That's their real attitude to you that you just watched on that film. That's how they see you, as dumb sheep that will vote for them because they've got a Labour rosette on their jacket. That's how they see you. And they will do nothing for you, either here or for people like you overseas. This is my second most important point. Although the media have tried so hard to conceal it, there are millions of people in this country who know that a genocide going on 3 hours flying time away with our country's complicity is a massive election issue. They can try and ignore it, but we've all got phones. Many of our children have even got phones, unfortunately. We're watching things on our phones almost in real time. Today is the Eid. I watched a little girl buried today with her Eid dress and her Eid sandals placed on top of her grave. She never even got the chance to wear it. Israel murdered her in the hours before the Eid celebration began. It didn't make it onto the mainstream media. It's not in any of the newspapers. But you all know about it, because thanks to the revolution in information technology, ignorance is now a choice. You can watch Love Island if you like, but if you'd prefer to know what's actually happening, you can. You can see it almost to the point of being unbearable. And that's their problem. Nobody's relying on their mainstream media or their dirty newspapers anymore. And where does Halima fit in on this? She's not a paper supporter of the Palestinian people. She went there and lived there and worked there amongst the Palestinian people. Yes. She could have faced the fate of Rachel Corrie, of Tom Hornbill. She could have been flattened by the bulldozers. She could have been sniped by the killers of the occupation force. But we couldn't get her out of there. She wouldn't leave. She went on a short trip, stayed for a long time, stayed with families there, shared their hardship. Who else in this campaign, in this constituency, could even dream of matching that record of solidarity that Halima Khan has on this vital and massive issue in the British general election? That's two reasons to vote for her. She unmasked Starmer's Labour Party, which is really a Blairite Labour Party. I don't even like to say his name, Starmer. Starmer is run by Tony Blair and Peter Mandelson and the people that murdered 1 million people in Iraq 25 years ago nearly. They began invading and occupying one country after another, slaughtering 1 million people and more, sending extremism, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, extremism, sending it cascading all over the world, including onto our own streets. Starmer is Blair without the laughs. Imagine Tony Blair without any of his redeeming features, his polish, his adage, which will live forever. Once you can fake the sincerity, the rest is easy. He faked the sincerity. He could make you laugh. He could turn a phrase. Starmer is Blair without any of that. So wooden. I've seen birds trying to nest in him. So clunky and robotic. You want someone to come on with an oil can and stop the clunking. Unable to think on his feet, unable to speak, unscripted, unable to meet the public, as we're doing here now. He couldn't dream of that. You would all have been vetted within an inch of your life if I was Keir Starmer standing up here on this stage. This is not politics. It's certainly not politics that will do anything for you. Do you think anybody here in Newham is going to get anything meaningful from Keir Starmer? He's not even pretending that you are. He's made a manifesto so desiccated, so bereft of any promise or hope, that the Tory manifesto actually offers more for some of the people in this constituency than the Labour one does. Imagine that. Why would you vote for them? Even if you don't care about that little girl in the grave I just told you about. Even if you don't care about a Labour Party that invaded Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, and so many other countries. even if you don't care about any of these things, care about yourself, care about your own lives here in this borough, because Labour has nothing to offer you and isn't even pretending that it has anything to offer you. Their manifesto is a continuation of this now 15 years of austerity, mass poverty, disaster, Grenfell, underinvestment in the NHS to the point where everyone says, well, let's just privatise it anyway. It's the only way we're going to get a doctor's appointment is pay for it. He lied about that on the so-called debate that he had with little Rishi Sunak. I'm not even going to waste any breath on little Rishi, except to tell you he's even smaller than you think he is. You've not seen his elevator heels. I have, up close and very personal. I regret how personal I was when I saw them. In that debate, Starmer was asked, if a member of your family was desperately ill and they couldn't get a hospital appointment, would you pay to go private? He answered no. Everybody watching it knows that's a lie. What he should have said was, yes, I would pay for it, but why should I have to? I've already paid in my taxes. And what about the people who can't afford to pay for it? That's what he should have said. But he lied instead, and as Halima knows, as well as anybody and better than most, lying is Starmer's leitmotif that runs through him like the word Blackpool in a stick of Blackpool rock. If you could break it in half, that's the word that you would see, liar. He lied when he told you he thought Jeremy Corbyn would be a great Prime Minister. Get out and vote for him. He lied when he tried to trick you over the Brexit referendum into voting again, a confirmatory vote, he said, even though he knew that hundreds of Labour constituencies that had broken, that had voted for Brexit, would be broken and their Labour MP thrown out. And when he said on television the other day, when he was asked, why did you tell everyone to vote for Jeremy Corbyn if you now tell us he's practically a demon? He said, I knew we were going to lose. He did know that they were going to lose. He made sure of it that they were going to lose. Both over Brexit, even more over spreading the foul lie that Corbyn, whom I've known for more than 40 years, was some kind of closet, racist, anti-Semite. He was right at the centre of that big lie. He lied about everything, and he'll go on lying about everything. I have seen many Prime Ministers come and go. Don't tell my wife, she thinks I'm 45, but when I was Prime Minister, when I was born, that's a Freudian slip. When I was born, Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of this country. That's how old I am. Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister. I didn't know him, although I do share one or two records with him. But I knew Hal Wilson well. I knew James Callaghan well. I even knew Margaret Thatcher. She even came up once in the corridor. I could tell it was her from the high heels clacking behind me. I just knew the speed that she was walking at, that it was her. I'd just spoken about the dangers of the reunification of Germany. And she came up to me and said, I agree with you on that. And clicked away. I knew Thatcher. and you Major better, and you Blair, and you Brown. I have never been more afraid of an impending prime ministership than I am afraid of Keir Starmer. I tell you now, within 6 months, if Starmer makes it into Downing Street, Britain will be at war. I don't mean a proxy war. I don't mean a covert war. I mean a real war with British soldiers in the theatre of war and coffins coming back to Brize Norton as they did for so long under Tony Blair's government in all the wars that he fought. Just mark my words on that.